has started through suffering. There is no other way to say it, right? And I know that for everyone, the journey is unique on this path. But for many, many people, if not for all, it starts by suffering or through suffering. We go through something really that shakes us. And then I think we start to search more, right? There should be a bigger meaning to life, right? Not just this mundane life that we do every day, our little problems or big problems as we imagine or whatever, right? So we start to search deeper for the truth. And then the path starts to unfold for each of us in a unique way. But to me, we need to give gratitude for the suffering. Really, it's our biggest blessing. Because if we didn't go through these things, perhaps we never would turn to the source, right? We would never ask, why is this life? We would just do our little things, imagining we are happy, and then we'll come back to do it all over again and again and again. And the thing is that as everything in reality, in changing reality that we physically live in, even the happiness won't last forever, right? Even if we are so happy, even that entire life, perhaps in the next one, something will happen and that will come to an end again. And there is not a person alive that won't experience the death of a loved one or some other suffering, right? We will all go through this. And then in order to understand how things work so that we don't suffer anymore, we have got to, like, consciousness experiences itself through this dynamic expression, of the souls and their journey. And so we get to experience a lot, we get to learn, we get to remember who we are. Until then, however, effort is required, right? Until we become established uninterruptedly in the changeless reality. Until then, we need to put effort and constant effort, right? And that is pretty much all I have to say. So I know you're all for a big treat you are in. So I'll pass it on to Anil with gratitude.
Okay. Thank you.
Selfie.
Okay. So look, I'm not giving any lecture here or any talk, Basically, whatever I'm going to preempt is already within you. You follow? What I'm actually going to communicate or tell you all is something that you might have actually forgotten, you're not actually aware of, and hopefully we'll be able to bring that thing and open it out within you, and that might assist you, in your own individual quest, right? So there's a small bhajan that I'm actually going to play, it's all communicated by the Rishi. And what actually this bhajan actually says is that, you see, only those who have actually found mukti, who have ultimately, come to the house of that ever-present changeless reality. Right? There is no ifs and buts about this, right? And you know, bhakti means that your effort to free yourself from your own karma and realize your true nature. So bhakti उन्हीं की सफल हुई है जो तेरे कदमों में आ चुके हैं. So these are, the words speak for themselves, So sort of the talk is actually centered around that. So I'll play this song, and again, it's not a guru or someone illuminated communicating something to you all. That whatever I'm communicating to you is already in its totality present within you, but the only difference here is that I might have actually realized and live in that presence, and some of you are struggling actually to reach there, or some of you might have already arrived, right? So you've got to realize that it's one human family. We are actually all together. Even the great saints like Ramakrishna, Ramana Maharishi, Jesus, Buddha, they came back in human form to guide us all, and that will continue to happen until everyone becomes a Buddha, everyone becomes a Ramana, everyone becomes a Jesus. So that is basically the journey that we hold together, and it is from that perspective and from that level that we will be actually discussing today. Okay. Sorry. All right, welcome back. So, everyone actually who is sitting in the room, I'm going to just put a few questions, and you already have the answers. So, no one here actually will deny that thoughts don't come to you. Is there anyone who actually denies that thoughts don't come to you? Right? If it's no, you raise your hand. And if it's yes, put your hands down. Right? And then if thoughts actually come to you, then is there anyone here who denies that feelings don't come to you? Right? So thoughts come to you, feelings come to you, right? Feelings are also emotions, emotions are also desires, right? And basically how a human being works is not so much through the thoughts, but through your desires and your feelings, right? I'll stop if you want me to, because I want you to be absolutely clear about what we are discussing, right? It's not anything new that I'm actually telling you. So tell me one thing, that if, you all have come here because that thought arose within you, that desire came within you, right? And to fulfill that desire, you have ended up here in this room to listen to the talk, right? So anything that you do that anyway, thoughts come to you, and then feelings or desires come to you. And if I say that you are actually a slave of your own desires, your own feelings, then that probably also is true actually, isn't it? So how are you actually going to progress? Yeah, come in. So one very simple question that actually arises is that however are you actually going to progress if you are simply a slave of your feelings and your desires, which you have done for endless lives, right? All the scriptures, all the great saints, all the great teachers, what they say is that, where actually you find that state of happiness, or where you find that state of silence, you have to go beyond your feelings, your desires, your thoughts. So if that very first basic step you have not actually taken, it really doesn't matter, what you are actually trying to achieve in your life. You will end up nowhere, right? What I talk to you is just the very simple truths of life, which you really need to very seriously start looking at if at all you are going to make any progress in your spiritual journey. I've met people who have done 30 years of meditation, I've guided people, who are very learned in the Shastras, right, in the scriptures, and they are still nowhere, because these are external images. You never looked inside yourself, whatever you did. You see, even to learn the scriptures, to teach the scriptures, it is simply nothing but a desire, and it's nothing but a change of one desire into another desire. It doesn't matter how pure it is, or how impure it is, or how poisonous it is still a desire, right? You with me so far? So first of all, we have actually got to explore our own real nature. Until first of all you will understand that from where these feelings of yours are coming, from where these thoughts of yours are coming, where are you going to progress? How are you going to go beyond a desire or a thought unless you have not even answered that very basic thing in your life, right? And basically in the ancient times, the rishis or whatever, they only used to have just a few students, and they rattled them inside out with that basic knowledge until finally the student became illuminated. That is why when the Upanishads were written, there are so many Upanishads, it was actually called the Golden Age. But in the modern world, the self-styled gurus don't even touch upon this thing, right? Alright, we won't be critical of anyone. So you see, when space and time were actually created, very briefly, what we come to know is that there was a certain amount of space which was allocated related to our own evolution, and there was nothing but this light there everywhere, right? And then from this light, a number is actually given that 60 billion sparks or ekank, actually came down. And that is what your real nature is. You are a ekank, or you are what they call, the Theosophical people call as a monad, right? That's your real nature. And your real nature is the same even today, and it will always be so, right? I'll give you proofs of this as I go along. Being an engineer, I don't talk anything theoretically. So basically the human family consists of 60 billion ekank or monads, and until everyone actually reaches that same state, no one has that freedom, including those who attained illumination, right? So that's from where actually we actually now delve into basically our own nature. So you got to remember that these devas or higher beings or whatever, they were actually evolved because out of nothing comes nothing, out of something comes something, isn't it? Kyun Devesh ji? I mean, you are also an engineer, right? Right? So we know that, right? There has to be something, from there something will come. If there is nothing, then there will be nothing, right? Sorry, I talk extempo, I don't prepare, so whatever comes, comes. So basically, you see, you need to understand that there were these 5 huge planes that were actually created, right? Everyone talks about the Atma, but the first plane is the Atmic plane, right? Which is basically nothing but divine will, whatever material divine will is made of. Then the next plane that was actually created, we call as the Bodhic plane. Look, see, these terms are ancient Sanskrit terms, not anything new. Atmic spirit, Bodhic intuition, right? So whatever material intuition is made of, basically that was the plane of intuition, right? Now we have completely forgotten about these two. That is where your higher nature is. Now we come to the familiar territory, we come down, you see. So the next plane is the mental plane, What is mental plane? It is nothing but a huge plane of endless thoughts, right? It's very interesting to note that just like each one of you has got a human body and you're actually listening, similarly in their own plane, every single thought is a living entity. Far more powerful, far more advanced than the human being. That's actually the truth, right? Then after the mental plane, basically the plane of thoughts, आप कुछ सोच रहे हैं, right? Then basically, see, you are thinking that thought is coming from that plane. You follow? When your eyes went there.
I was thinking, is there any control on our thoughts or desires?
Yeah. The second half of the talk is very different.
Yeah.
It will absolutely lift you to that reality. You follow? But first of all, let us know our basic nature. If you don't know our basic nature, then you won't enjoy the second part at all, right? So then there is this plane of thoughts, right? Everyone has got thoughts, and then after that, basically the next plane is the plane of feelings, the plane of desires, right? And as I said, I started with this thing that we are nothing but a slave of our desires, our feelings, right? And that's what you've got to transcend. And then basically after that they have this pranic plane or the etheric plane. We won't go too much actually into that. And then here we are actually all sitting here on the physical plane, right? Bhautik they call it, right? So everything here is of a bhautik nature or a physical nature, right, Veena ji? So you have got the physical plane, then you've got the plane of feelings, right? Then you've got the plane of thought. So that's, everyone is very familiar with that, thoughts, feelings, physical activity, right? Beyond that is basically your spiritual journey starts, which is the plane of intuition or buddhi. There are no thoughts, there are no feelings there. And last of all is basically what you call as the atmic plane or the plane of spirit. Okay so far?
Yes.
Is there any confusion? There is no confusion. You see, because the thing is this, that actually This is your own real nature. I am not telling you anything new. But because, like Shankaracharya said, that in our evolution we have become like donkeys, we have forgotten that basically what our real nature is, right? Okay. So we are going to give this one out, and we will have a discussion on this. I might actually just keep one, and we can pass that on, and pass it on from there. It's all right here. That one is for me, Sylvia. This one is for me. Hi, come in. Keep it for the break. Okay, I just want everybody just to have one copy. I don't want you to look at it. I'll explain, you know. Are we all good? Yes. Yeah, everyone has got it? Okay. So you see, I want everyone to listen. It's okay. We'll go through the diagram, right? I want you to look here, not on the page. Otherwise you'll miss out, right? Let's go slowly. So when this diagram was actually made, it took many months to actually make that. It actually came from Rishi Master Byansa Duno, and even the very color of those planes and the very color of those bodies is actually on this diagram, right? A lot of work actually goes into, you know, doing these things, right? So when you look at this plane, see, you are not just this physical body, right? Because none of you raised his hand that feelings don't come to me, and none of raised the hand that thoughts don't come to me, right? Because that's really what it is. So actually, you see, when you stretch your arms, right? Look at it very carefully. When you stretch your arms, and if I draw like a you know, an elliptical thing around me, that's your aura. This you have to really understand, right? And that is really who you are, not just the physical form, right? Because, you know, when you, even like these two people are sitting here and you two are sitting, or you are sitting just behind him, when somebody comes actually in your aura, then those feelings arise within you of animosity or love, isn't it? I mean, a lift is a good example. I mean, it's a good example here as well. So when they come in your aura, either you have a feeling of harmony or distrust. I mean, Ishpreet is a good example of that. She's come from America, and the people who are making her kitchen really upset her. Right? We used to have discussions on the kitchen, you know, how that's going to be renovated. So I said, oh well, these people will be gone, you know. So when they come in your aura, you don't feel comfortable, isn't it? That is, you've got to look for proofs for these things, right? So basically, if I start from here, you see that thing which is in red. If you look at those diagrams, now actually you can look at the diagram in red. So that red actually is the physical body, right? Now you can look, you are looking at the diagram, is there, right? That's the physical body, right? Just be with me, right? That red is the physical body, and then there is something white which is actually less than 1 centimeters. That is the pranic body, prana, right? So your physical body is the electrical field, and your pranic body is the magnetic field, right? And everyone has got a physical body, no one denies that, right? No one is going to say I'm invisible and I can't see. Now, when you stretch your arms, so we won't go by whatever the measurements are there. If you really look at me, when you come up to your elbow, right? Tulika, look here. right? When you come to your elbow, this is your elbow. When I just come before the elbow, that's basically your body of feelings or the astral body. And you see, the proof of this is this, that because you are controlled by your feelings, your desires, can't you see that is why this is the closest? You got to look for proof. You follow? Don't just believe that somebody is just saying something and you believe in it. You have to experiment. You have to practically see that what is being actually communicated to you is correct. Because you only progress in what you believe in, isn't it? Or no? Right? So, maybe you might be saying that Anilji is also fudging the truth, Well, let's experiment with it and see, right? So that's your astral body. I can't go very deep, but I'm going to give you the basics of this. And then this here, where your elbow is, where that green one is, right? That green one, look at it. That is actually your mental body. Right? With every plane there is a connection. Look, this is the physical plane. We are connected with Mother Earth, the physical body. Okay? Starting from there, your body of feelings is connected with the astral plane. Right? But the astral plane has got billions and billions of feelings, you follow? But your astral body is unique to you. You only filter those feelings which are nice to you. Like yesterday we were having a discussion, husband-wife fighting, because the emotions don't match. And you'll keep on trying from one life to the next, they'll never match. Right? And so the circus goes on. Okay, that's the mental body. Everyone with me? Then the longest body and the biggest body that actually you've got is the body of intuition, the bodhic body, which is blue in color. Right? So that is actually connected to the plane of intuition. Right? What I'm actually giving you is the ancient knowledge given by the rishis. You follow? This is the very foundation of spiritual guidance. Without these basics, you don't really actually progress. You can listen to thousands of lectures, you can do meditation for hundreds of years, read all the scriptures, but until really you know your own very basics, because you see, you got to learn A, B, C, D, then only you can make words. You follow? So this is the A, B, C, D. Okay. Then the last one, basically, if I stretch my arms and where my hands are, that is basically your body of spirit or the Atmic body. Yeah? And each of the bodies is made up of its own material. Atmic body is basically made up of divine will. Your bodhic body is basically made up of intuition. Right? It might look a little bit hard, but I'll explain to you. I'll give you proof of whatever I'm talking about. Right? Your mental body is made up of thoughts. Your astral body or this body of feelings is made up of feelings, desires, emotions, whatever you may call it. You follow? And basically your physical body is made up of the physical material. Right? Okay so far? Yes?
What's the role of brain then? Mind, which we think it is inside this skull.
You see, this physical body is simply the instrument which receives, these vibrations. Just like the role of a TV is you tune it to different levels, different frequencies, and it brings into you, it will bring in a cricket match or it will bring in the Bollywood songs, right? So your physical body has got all those instruments to communicate with all these different bodies.
So thoughts is created in the mental body.
Sorry?
Thoughts are created in the mental body.
Well, basically your mental body is made up of thoughts. It connects with the plane of thoughts. It picks up the thoughts from whatever thoughts are to be picked up from that plane and transitions it, and you interpret it through the brain. Right? Make sense? Yeah. So all these questions actually arise, but in this satsang we can only go through the basics, right? But at least your questions are correct, because now you are questioning your own existence. Now you are questioning that what's the brain doing? Where are these thoughts coming from? So you understand, that is where your spiritual journey actually begins. Because simply by reading a scripture or listening to someone's beautiful satsang on Gita or a Ramayana doesn't answer this question for you, right? And that is the reason why people become, masters in scriptures, masters in meditation. But the truth eludes them. You understand? The reality never touches them, even though it is there. Because you never made an inroad into basically where you should be going, right?
Where is the location of soul in our body?
I'll pick it up in the end. Some of the questions just keep in your mind, and once everything is actually finished, we can intermingle, chat, and talk about it. Have you seen a mango? Everybody has seen a mango. उसके बाहर छिलका नहीं होता, और बीच में that pilpula, that matter is there which you actually eat, and inside is the seed. So what is the seed? The seed actually, it's only the seed which gives birth to another plant, another tree. You understand? So the seed is like your Atma or the spirit body, which is capable of giving rebirth, capable of controlling future mangoes which are going to come, right? Now basically जो गुद्दा होता है उसका, what that is actually, जो गुद्दा है, that is basically where the exchange of energies take place. आप खाते हो ना उसका गुद्दा, seed तो you don't eat the seed, right? So basically so the seed basically is the spirit which has got that capability to give birth. वो जो गुद्दा होता है, that is where the exchange of energies take place, right? So when you look at this diagram, basically your Atma is the spirit, right? Combined with that is the bodic body. ठीक है कि नहीं? Now where is the exchange of energies taking place? Thoughts coming down, associated with feelings, interpreted at the physical body. So your mental body and your astral body is the soul sitting in between. You follow? That is like that वो गुद्दा जो है मैंगो का.
But no particular location like here or here.
You see, this is symbology. The actual truth is actually explained by nature in the form of symbology. If you can read the language of nature, you will understand everything. These are actually just symbols, symbology to explain more complex phenomena. But that's basically where it comes from. So basically the soul is your astral and your mental body, because they are the ones sitting between your higher nature, Atmic and Baudic bodies, spirit, right? Then your mental and astral bodies, that is the soul, because that's from where you communicate higher and at the lower end. क्योंकि physical body उसके नीचे बैठी हुई है ना, look at that diagram. So the physical body is like that skin of that mango which houses the others. Make sense? You can take so many examples. You can take the example of an egg. The shell actually outside is like the physical body. The yolk which is actually there, the yellow part which gives birth to the baby, is like the spirit. And in between, the white matter, the albumin, that is the soul, where the exchange of energies is taking place, right?
But some philosophers
All right.
believe that soul is
Okay,
okay.
that's all right. Don't worry about the philosophies, right? This is not philosophical what we are talking. We are talking about things as they are. I'll take up questions in the end so that we can actually finish off, with the discussion, right? So a lot of questions will arise, but basically that's good, isn't it? So you saw that something was hiding inside you, and now that question has actually come out, and now you are questioning the scriptures, that what is actually the truth. So everyone communicates according to their level of intelligence, right? Okay. Where were we? So we were at the sorry? Yeah. We were actually at the mental plane. So from the mental plane, actually your thoughts are coming. Huh? Correct. Yeah. So basically, look, you have got a physical body connected to the physical plane. You have got a astral body, if you look at the diagram, which is connected to the astral plane, right? Then you have got a mental body connected to the mental plane, right? Then you have a bodic body, a body of intuition, which is actually connected to the plane of intuition. And then you have got an atmic body, which is connected to the plane of Atma. Atmic body, Atmic plane, Bodhic body, Bodhic plane, right? Now these are the two with which probably you haven't interacted much with, right? Which are outward. But then you have got the mental plane, the plane of which is connected with the plane of thoughts. Then you have got the astral body connected to the plane of feelings, and then the physical body connected to the physical plane. Is this actually clear or not so far? Right? That's all. That's all I want you to learn the basics. Don't worry about the questions. I mean, the mind has been questioning for nearly 1300 lives. It will continue to question. So tell it to, just sit down here for some time and you will talk to it later, right? Because that's the whole thing. You got to transcend beyond your astral and mental bodies to reach that reality, right? Okay. Now we will go a little bit deeper into this. So you see where your mental body is, that green one. Now actually what happens is that you see this green one is actually split in two. There is a split halfway. What you have is an upper mental body and a lower mental body. So this upper mental body is actually connected to that blue structure, right? The upper mental body is also known as, in Sanskrit they call it the Karan Sharira, right? Karan is cause, and it's also called the shining body, right? If you want to picturize it how it is, agar jaise if I take a pan ka pata or a heart sign, like a love sign, and say if that love sign is shining like the sun is shining, so that's basically how your upper mental body or the shining body is. Now this upper mental body or the shining body is the storehouse of all your previous thoughts, all your previous feelings, all your previous lives, everything. A good example would be, Priyaji has given me a room, so there's curiosity, so when I was in the toilet, I just opened the cupboards and there were soaps, and shampoos and whatever, right? So they are stored so that, to be used later, right? But you're not going to use, all the 12 bottles of shampoo in a single day. That's all the storage for the coming 6 months or 9 months, what the human nature is. So similarly, it is like that storage where everything is archived, right? So you have what you call as the Akasha records, or you have your own individualized library where everything is actually there. You with me? Upper mental body, right? Then there is this, and you see the upper mental body is connected with your bodhic body and your atmic body, right? Whereas the lower mental body, see what is the lower mental body? The lower mental body is the one which is helping us to run our day-to-day life, from where your thoughts are coming, right? These thoughts which constantly flow, they come from the lower mental body, right? Then after that lower mental body, then basically you have got your body of feelings and you have got this physical body, right? Now what actually happens? Try and grasp this, right? So one drop actually of your upper mental body or shining body comes out, okay? So when it comes out, it enters the lower mental plane, right? You're with me? Bahar aayi na wo? It enters the lower mental plane. Now when it enters the lower mental plane, you form your unique mental body. Means that you actually, based on whatever you have actually decided, you will make that mental body which is going to entertain your mental habits or thoughts in this life. Because the proof of that is there in this room as well. What I think, Tulika ji doesn't think. The thoughts that come to me don't come to her thoughts. The thoughts which come to Priya ji do not come to her husband. Right? And that's actually true. Correct, Neelam ji? The thoughts that come to Neelam ji do not actually, some of them may be similar, but the majority is your own unique thoughts. You follow? So you form a lower mental body. Then that continues to travel and you enter the astral plane. So what happens is that in the astral plane you pick up that material basically which is going to form your body of emotions or the body of feelings. That is why the proof of that is that everyone has their unique feelings and the feelings of two people never match, whether it's husband, wife, father, children, sister, your enemy, your friend, right? You just have to look just around you to find actually the truth, right, Veena ji? I mean, Veena ji said something about reality, Neelam ji said something about reality, right? So their feelings are different. You can see the proof in the room. Then, in the meantime, what is actually happening is that for 9 months, the baby is being conceived in the womb of the mother. Now, this is actually very interesting, you see, that, the birth of the baby still eludes the biologist. It's a very beautiful statement, right? Gopi Krishna made that. Means that, how can it be that in the womb of the mother, that fluid is actually there, so that fluid is only a glue. How can the heart cells, the brain cells, the stomach cells, the liver cells, all of them can be formed from that? Think about it. Isn't it? That's a viable question, right? I put the questions, so I got the answers, or you can call me lucky that I was with these people who knew the answers, right? So basically what happens is that out there in this universe, there is a set of heart cells, there is a set of brain cells, there is a set of kidney cells, there is a set of liver cells. So these cells are like beings of light. Haven't you noticed that your stomach is perfect in what it does? You put all sorts of food inside, but it digests whatever is there. Look at your eyes. When they see, they make no mistake. Kyo Mishra ji? They make no mistake that this is Anil ji here talking, They don't tell you that this is a tiger growling at you. Right? They don't tell you that you're in the zoo enjoying with the giraffes. They don't tell you that you are, standing in front of Taj Mahal. They tell you exactly what you actually are saying, and they make no mistake about it, right? You got to look for the proof of these things. So these cells which are there, brain cells, heart cells, brain cells, they sacrificed their own evolution to serve the human body. So what they do is that all of these they actually collect together, and that is basically how the physical body is formed. It is all interconnected, right? Then after 9 months, when it is ready, out you come. I mean, the water breathing baby becomes an air breathing baby, right? I mean, there are mothers here who have given birth to children. So at that time, your astral, mental, bodhic and atmic bodies, they lock in. Okay, now note one thing, the atmic and the bodhic bodies, they never change. In every life they are the same. What changes is your mental body, your astral body and your physical body. Every time that you reincarnate. Alright, so now here you are, you spend your 70 years or your 80 years, and then basically what happens is that now the time has come to depart. Okay, now what happens when you depart? So you leave your physical body. Now when you are in your physical body, you work according to your feelings and your thoughts. Aye. Come in. All right. Everyone okay? Yes. Anandji, you're all right? Okay. So now in the physical body, I mean, this is the life that we are actually leading. We lead our life according to our thoughts and our feelings. You fight with your husband, you fight with your daughter, you love your son, you love your house, but everything is according to you. It's the me which is active. Now when you die, right at the moment of death, what happens is that your life flows from the time that you were actually born to all the events that have been taking place from the time that you took birth, right? And so what happens is that you collect all the experiences of the present life and you transition into what we call as your astral body, in the astral plane. So what happens in the astral plane now? See, when you were actually here, you actually looked at everything according to your feelings. A very simple example is given, say I slapped someone. So you didn't feel the pain, right? It's the one you slapped who felt the pain. So what happens in the astral plane is, that is your second life, it's in the reverse. Everybody that you were actually associated with, what their feelings were, that is what you experience. And when you experience that, then you know, doodh ka doodh and pani ka pani. Then you come to know, oh, this thing I did was good, and this thing what I did I shouldn't have done. I mean, slapping is a good example of that. But unfortunately, you have got to come back in the physical body to be slapped and to feel that pain. Because वहाँ तो physical body है नहीं ना, it's not there. That's just one example of many. Anyway, so then you spend your time in the astral plane, and then the astral body dies, second death. Then you enter your mental body, जिसको हम बोलते हैं ना स्वर्ग लोका. That is the lower mental plane, is the swarga loka, right? So what happens in the mental body is, see, a lot of thoughts come to us, all right? Many thoughts actually come to us which actually remain unfulfilled, right? I'll give you a small example. Say, what example should I take? Okay, I'll take the common example. Say I lived here in this house, so I'll take Priyaji's house to be mine for now. And I had a son, and actually he did his medicine from All India Institute. He became, you know, he did his masters as well from there. But I was unhappy because I wanted him to go to London, you know, and actually do his medicine from there, or say Oxford, and do his masters from there and practice in London. So basically now you see, you know that when you create mental pictures, they are endless. Isn't it? You can create any mental picture here as well, of the universe, of the galaxies, you know, of New York or whatever. But there it happens in real. What you do is that because that thing was unfulfilled, you will create that city of London. You will create a house which is probably better than this one or similar, and then you have your son and you will have your wife, and these are all mental images. And then your son will go and study in London or in Oxford. He will do his medicine, his masters, and then he will practice there. And then that desire is fulfilled. That's why it is called Swargaloka, right? It's all temporary. And then when all that is over, then your lower mental body dies. Then you return back to the upper mental body. Now when you return back to the upper mental body, that is the storehouse. So you have gained all these experiences from one life and come back, right? So you are enriched. Your upper mental body is enriched with those experiences, and all your previous lives and everything is there. Then it starts again. Then you determine, well, what karma am I going to work out, which body I am going to have, where I will be, and so the cycle keeps on repeating itself, right? So, okay with the cycle of reincarnation? This is basically what happens. That is why they say that you are your own judge and you are your own executor, right? So this is to do with the circus which goes on, right? The circus of thoughts, the circus of feelings, the circus of the physical body, right? But one thing we have actually missed in this, that is, you see that now all of you are actually sitting here. Now look at one thing, you know, you cannot actually deny, you see that this view actually appears to you, right? Rahulji, correct? Tell me again, I ask, you know, all of you to raise your hands if there is no view in front of you. And no one can raise their hands because you can't deny that this view is actually there. But don't you see in the view that building is there, that building is actually there. And if I actually take you, that if you take this view right up to as far as space and time go, the view goes right up to there, isn't it? You have a physical view, you have got a view of feelings, you have got a mental view. But have you actually ever thought that how does this view appear? If the view is not there, there will be no Anilji, there will be no thoughts, there will be no feelings, there will be no physical activity, because all the images are actually in the view. And then there is another thing. Not only that, have you noticed one thing, that since I started talking, or other members of our group, other members of this family were talking, we were conscious of whatever actually was being spoken, isn't it? I mean, without being conscious, look at these now. This is where it goes deep. Without being conscious and without the view appearing, is there anything possible? Tell me. You can't be conscious of your thoughts, you can't be conscious of your desires, you can't be conscious of your physical activity, right? And this is what the great masters have actually taught. So this is where the higher bodies come. You understand? In this diagram, this your body of intuition and this your Atmic body, this is the function that they perform. And that is what they tell you repeatedly, go there. That is the heart. That is the changeless reality which you have actually got to reach. So tell me one thing, I started with this, that if you don't know your own true nature, Ramana Maharishi repeatedly said, go to the heart. This is the heart in front of you in which that reality is flowing. And you are lost in images. You are lost in the thoughts, the feelings, your cycles of reincarnation. And your Atmic body and your Bodhic body have never changed, and they will never change, because the view has to be there, and in that view you have got to be conscious of images in the view. If that function changes, well, there will be a lot of chaos, isn't it? Gadbad ho jayegi. Ke nahi? Gurmeet ji? Yes or no? Yes. You have been a spiritual student for a very long time, and you are still searching. Are you still searching, or is it coming to an end?
Now I can, after learning all these things, coming to know all these things, so there is a understanding how to, earlier I couldn't disassociate from the thoughts, but now I can, at least I'm very aware of it, so when it comes I can know, okay, this is the thought which is coming and it is my choice to entertain or not entertain, so there I'm getting
So that is a good example. You see, she says it is my choice. That do I want to entertain this feeling or the thought, or should I be a slave to that? So when you attain the state of illumination, thoughts and feelings are just like people, the cars going on the road, or Nehru Place, I work there, whoever are working there, I got nothing to do with them, I'm free. That's all what you call as what is enlightenment. That which chained you no longer chains you, and you are always free anyway, right? So now, okay so far?
Yes. I just wanted to ask you one question, sorry. So when the masters are there, like the masters of God, they are all were guiding us. So which plane they are, or do we meet them there? Like how?
Very simple answer. See, the thing is that if you think of Ramana Maharishi or Gautam Buddha, there is some sort of communication within you, some sort of knowledge, you follow? Look, everybody is in the view. They may not be physically present, but they are there. They haven't gone anywhere, you follow? Sometimes it may happen that your physical body may be so advanced that you are actually able to communicate with them. Because I've been able to communicate with them, I don't know, whatever the karma may be, that's why I have this knowledge. Right? So that is not anything unusual,
They are at all the planes, they are available at all the planes.
Well, they will be there at their plane of, the extent to which they have actually evolved, that is the plane where they will be in, because even beyond the Atmic plane there are higher planes. Like Ramana Maharishi just sits at that plane where consciousness changes into the view or the screen. That's the highest, right? Rishi Master Byansaduno sits higher than the Atmic plane. That's why he has all this knowledge, right? All right.
Sir, now, when we are talking of the view, is it only the physical object or awareness of how the thoughts and feeling within the same?
One very simple thing. Thoughts are actually coming in the view only, isn't it? Aren't you in the view? Your physical, astral, mental, bodhic, Atmic bodies, are they not in the view, or are they outside it? Because when you think about the view, I actually tell you that, look, this is space and time, and beyond space and time is spacelessness and timelessness. So the view goes as far as space and time is, and even beyond that. You know why? Because your real nature is that you yourself are the reality which you have forgotten. It's even happening now as well, isn't it? So the view goes beyond. Look, you see, look at one thing. If you didn't have this body of intuition or the Atmic body, how would you understand what I'm telling? And you understand this thing as if you know it, don't you? That's the proof. But because you have become so limited, and so the limited questions come out.
Sir, throughout the day, you are being limited to physical objects only. View
Correct.
of the camera, view of the CCTV, view
Yeah.
of so and so. So to imagine that everything is in the view is little different thinking, different.
Yeah, it is different, but it is so, isn't it?
Yes, it is so.
Huh?
And changes every moment. Changing, evolving every
The view doesn't change. The objects in the view change. Being conscious of the view never changes, but what you are conscious of, that changes. This is not rocket science. This is the truth. This is what you are. You follow? And if you are blessed with that knowledge, that's the knowledge you give.
What we say as consciousness, no, all these bodies are from the consciousness only.
Second part, patient. Be patient. The second part is very deep. It's very deep. It hits you right in the heart. Your questions will be answered there. Let me see after that how many questions have you got. Okay. Now just one very simple thing. Can everyone see this bottle? Tell me if you can't see it. I'll throw it at you. Right? So this bottle is there, right? Now the thing is just that this bottle was here even before I was talking. So you see the view was there and the bottle was there. So the first thing which actually happens is that the view appears. Now I am giving you the proof. As I said, I've got Mr. Anand as well here. He is also an engineer. We connected after a very long time, but we are very objective. We don't like theory. You follow? We want to have the proof of what we talk about. That's what 5 years of power engineering or electronics engineering, Delhi College of Engineering taught us. Our roots are here. I'm an engineer from Delhi College of Engineering. And so if I became illuminated or I went along that line, so I was looking for proof all along. Otherwise I won't believe it. I want to talk to you. And so when the reality shines, then it shines. When the truth comes, then it actually comes. I don't have to go to any books or to even the most learned or enlightened people to tell you what I'm actually telling, because I walk in their ranks. But the difference is that I understand what goes through the human being, because I went through that suffering, I went through these things. And that is why I don't have a lot of students, but I grill my students to the very end until finally they are screwed to the point that they start looking at the light, way to go. No one can give you enlightenment. We can give you knowledge. We can give you the right knowledge. But the illumination has to come from inside. Only consciousness can give that. Anyway, sorry, I'm drifting again. Back to the point. So you see what happens is, listen to this very carefully, right? That this basically is your Atmic body, the divine will. Okay? This divine will acts on your bodic body, which is basically the divine or the intuition, right? And that is how, when the divine will of the Atmic body acts on the intuition of your body of intuition or the bodic body, that is how intuitively, that is the word, without thought, without feeling, without physical activity, the view appears. Is that clear or not? This is the proof I'm giving you now, right? So this is the proof of the existence of your Atmic and Bodic bodies. And another thing they do, the light of consciousness flows from these two bodies. You see, you cannot do anything without being conscious of whatever thought, whatever feeling, whatever physical activity is happening. That also is a function of the Atmic and the Bodic bodies. Being conscious, appearance of the view has never changed. Doesn't matter whatever the life it may be. What has changed is you have changed. Your thoughts, your feelings, your activity, your place of living, the images have changed.
But the view never changed. Now you can experiment with this as much as you want, I have. Right? And these are the gifts from the great masters or the spiritual hierarchy. You won't come across this easily. No one will actually tell you that the truth is actually here. You don't have to give a donation of $100,000 to feed someone's pocket.
So so when you're saying the view, that is the view of the consciousness.
This is your view.
Okay.
Consciousness is one. Atmic bodies and bodhic bodies are the same in every human being. They are not different. If they were different, so then there will be a lot of problems then. The view is the same for everybody. The activity in the view is different. Right? The view is common. Look at it even now. The view is common to everyone. It's only that the view has got to come through you so that you can function as Gurmeet ji, as a lawyer, or I can function as an engineer. Right? Theory नहीं है कोई इसके अंदर. Okay. Now what I did was that I said that look, this is a bottle, and everybody now sees the bottle because I picked up the bottle. So basically when I say that this is a bottle, isn't that the thought? Vichar hai na ye. So in the view you start picking up objects, and when you pick up objects, thoughts come into you. Now your mental body is active. Right? This is how it is. The speed is unknown. So basically you see, if I say that this has got a green cap, that's another thought coming in, isn't it? This is Anil ji speaking, there's Priya ji, listening. These are all thoughts. So first the view appears, the Atmic and the Bodhic body acts, and then we look at the objects, and then thoughts appear. And then if I say, well, everyone likes the water in the bottle, isn't it? कि कोई कहता है कि ये जहर है, जहर तो नहीं है ना, ये this is अमृत. You enjoy, you open the bottle, here I'll open it. I drank some water, it's beautiful actually, isn't it? That cold, soft water went into my neck. So that's a feeling, isn't it? That you like the water, If I say that no, there is poison inside this, and I'll give it to yourself, and I'll say, well, drink it. I don't think you like that, isn't it? If I put actual poison in it and I tell you drink it, you won't like that, isn't it? क्यों पूनम जी? Like करेंगे क्या नहीं? फिर तो इस रूम से बाहर नहीं जाएंगी आप. Right? So you see, now you smiled because that is opposite to this. So what are these? These are feelings, isn't it? A liking for the water and a disliking for poison in that bottle. So thoughts I, description of the objects, then feelings come. Where do the feelings come from? From your astral body. Your astral body is active. Right? So whatever I have told you in that diagram, I am giving you proof of the existence of those bodies and the existence of those planes. And then last of all this is actually happening in the bodhic plane, isn't it? The bottle is here, Anil ji is here, you all are here. It's the physical body attached to the physical bodies, attached to the physical plane where the activities are taking place. Okay? I'll take the questions. So the first part actually finishes here. I'll just actually add one thing, that the Rishi had actually said that, the speed of light which comes from the sun is 300,000 kilometers per second. But the Rishi had actually explained that the speed of thought is 15,750,000 kilometers per second. 15,000,750,000 kilometers per second is the speed of thought. That's why if I tell you that there is a billion galaxies, you immediately have a mental picture of that. It is because your thought already reached those galaxies. Anyway, I'll close that there. We'll have a short break. So this was the light part of the satsang. Now the heavy part will come. The bombardment, All right, let's have a break. Now you can. This Aham self or Paramatma or Bhagwan or Christ, if I just put that to one side for a minute, and if I use the word awareness, and I say that this awareness is actually God, so even then basically what will happen is that you will want to know what this awareness is actually, isn't it? Listen to this very carefully. But if I use the word Chetana, or if I use the word consciousness, so I don't have to give you a 2-hour lecture to know consciousness, isn't it? Kyo Mishra ji? You will say that actually silly, isn't it? What about you, Tulika? You want a 2-hour lecture on consciousness? Because you are conscious even now, right, Anand ji? So now you see what actually you call as awareness, what you call as Paramatma, what you call as Bhagwan, what you call as Christ, what you call as Allah. That is none other than this consciousness here which is present as we communicate. That's your real nature. So if you are looking for the reality, that's what you are looking for, right? You are looking for God. So mark my words, the closest terminology that comes mentally or from the desire perspective is actually consciousness. So at least your quest to find out who God is actually finishes there, isn't it? You can do idol worship, you can listen to satsangs, right? You can do your spiritual quest, you can do whatever you want. But if you realize this fully actually, that Param Atma, I am not using the word Atma, that which is beyond space and time, that which is spaceless and timeless is actually none other than this reality present right here in all its glory, in all its grace, and which is accessible to you without going to anyone, without listening to anyone, without paying anyone, without doing any studies, without any sadhana. This is your real nature, and that is the reality. After you have done everything, you start from consciousness, which is your real nature, and where you end, you will only actually end there. The only thing is that when it reveals itself from within, what you call as grace, that this is the ultimate truth, that is the end of all your cycles of reincarnation, that is the end of all your journeys, that's the end of everything that you are actually seeking. These are very deep words, but this is the truth. This is what is revealed to everyone who you call is actually illuminated. So Ishpreet ji, you don't have to come to Anil ji, right? Because that reality is your real nature, which traveled with you from America to here, which will travel through you in every life, and which will actually never change. Now you experiment with it as much as you want. This is the truth. But I cannot, no sage, no illuminated sage has actually got that power to reveal that to you. He can only put it in words, he can only or she can put it in feelings, they can only express it what they experience. So if you say that I am actually enlightened, I live in consciousness all the time. It doesn't go away, this is not my fault, It came, and when it came, and that was it. Right? It was not easy, but it did come. Aye. So basically, if you are actually searching for the reality, or if you are searching for actually God, that is actually consciousness, and it is not an image. Consciousness is the source of all images, if you want to practically actually test it out. You follow? So what you call as Allah, what you call as Bhagwan, what you call as Christ, what you call as awareness, that's nothing but this consciousness. Right? Okay. Now, other than consciousness, everything else, other than consciousness, everything else is an image. Right? So we just sweep across the whole, panorama of space and time. And what I'm actually telling you, I, ask you to actually practically test it out, if this is right or is this wrong. Other than consciousness, which is the Allah of the Muslims, the Paramatma of the Hindus, the Christ of the Christians, right? The awareness of those who call it awareness. Other than consciousness, everything else is an image. And even these so-called gods that you actually believe in, they are also nothing but symbology and images created in consciousness. Right? Now, since everything is an image, well, everybody knows that, basically how do images function, creation, preservation, and dissolution, right? Everyone actually believes in that principle. A thing is created, it sustains itself, and then it actually dies. That is how images function, right? But there is something else. every image, these are my own words, but they are mighty words, coming from the spiritual hierarchy. Every image carries the seeds of its own death within it. Right? Every image carries the seeds of its own death within it. That image is actually going to come to an end. So the question which arises is, why are you, running after images? You have become an image, and that's what Shankaracharya said, that you have become a donkey, because being an image, you simply behave as an image. Your own image is actually carrying the seeds of its own death within it, and it's actually going to die. There's nothing wrong actually in following it, because that is what this samsara is, or the world of images. But try to understand this thing, that in the end, no matter how endearing it is, this is basically how the world of images runs. That is how the unlimited, that is how that consciousness, that real nature of yours became the limited. I'll discuss that later. But everything else other than consciousness is an image, and every image carries the seeds of its own death within it. You can practically apply it. This will be applicable to everything that you have ever believed in. Right? Suddenly you see there is a shift from what we were discussing to what the reality is. Right? Okay? But then we come to the question of how do we actually put it into practice in our day-to-day life. Right? So now, I love this one actually, You see the view is there in front of you, right? You know how the view comes, or whatever it is, right? This view actually is the very screen on which the play of Maya, or the play of images, goes on. Because there is nothing else, but in this view there is only images, whether they are of gods, or they are of human beings, or animals, or anything, it doesn't matter, right? So now actually you see you've got to put this prime question. It's a very simple question, right? That basically if this view is there, and I told you in the first part, you can test it out, this view is everywhere. You think of galaxies, it goes to the galaxies. You think of space and time, you think to the very limits of space and time, it actually goes there. You think about going beyond space and time, it actually goes there, right? So, they give all these examples that the sea is there, and the waves are there, so the waves are nothing but the sea, they are rising from that. There are endless examples. But just look at this. That's from where the examples came. If the view is actually there, the question which arises is that somebody has become the view. Remember, being an engineer, I said that nothing, out of nothing comes nothing, out of something comes something. Right? So that means that something, that consciousness, your real nature, was already there. And see, the thing is that this is not anything new to you. Hasn't consciousness actually become the view? Tell me, question me if I am actually wrong here, because this is the proof. You see, there is none other than that could have actually become the view, other than consciousness itself, because even now, because of consciousness, you know that there is a view. There are no scriptures here, there are no teachings here. This is the naked truth. Right? This is the gift from the spiritual hierarchy. Gurmeet ji, यहाँ तो आपके सारी साधना भंग हो गई ना, क्या नहीं? There's nothing to practice actually here, right? So the thing is this, that if consciousness has become the view, so in consciousness only everything is evolving, dying, whatever it may be. Just one very simple question which actually arises is, I use this Australian term, that consciousness has popped up as the view. ये popped up जो है is Australian term. I really like it, right? Now if consciousness has actually become the view, then the question which arises is that, what do you see in the view? You see images popping up and down. If you look at your own experience, what is your experience? It's a rise and a fall. It's a rise and a fall. It's a rise and a fall. It's popping up and popping down. Whether it's the awake state, the dream state, the deep sleep state, thoughts, feelings, reincarnation, going to a movie, cooking, whatever it is coming and going and coming and going and coming and going. Correct? Actually, this is the real sadhana. If you just practice and witness the rise and the fall, you are illuminated. Because see, how can you understand this thing that everything is a rise and a fall? Because this is basically your own creation. You only are rising as say Anandji or Tulikaji or Anilji, and you only are falling back into your real nature of consciousness. So who is going to teach you what? And who is going to ask you to practice what? Right? So if even the view is a rise and a fall, because consciousness has arisen as the view, if the view is not there, there is no Maya, there is no world of images. Right? Now the thing is this, that if I said that everything is an image, so again the question which arises is, it doesn't matter how different it may look, how peculiar it may look, how funny it may look, it's consciousness only popping up and popping down as whatever is there. Right? You put it to practice as much as you want. You cannot escape this. This is the ultimate truth. So you cannot be fooled. That is, Ishpreetji actually sitting here. The truth is actually Ishpreetji actually is consciousness in its limited format of rising and falling as Ishpreetji. You missed first part of the lecture. Does this make sense?
Yeah, it is. Consciousness.
Well, if anything makes sense, this is the only thing which makes sense, right? Everything else I call is senseless. Because this is the truth which will live on forever. And I challenge everybody, well, try it out. So actually you see what happens is, here there is no freedom, because you being consciousness, you are the one who has chosen to experience whatever you want to experience. Forget about destiny. Right? Like I had a wife. So maybe this is for the first time that it had no effect on me. And I helped my wife to reach that state of abidance in 2 years, because her face was actually shining. But then suddenly she was diagnosed with ovarian cancer in 2020. Right? Now, in her family, her mom had actually passed away in 2019 at the age of just 4 months less than 100. Nobody actually had those genes of actually dying before the age of 94 or 95 or 104. 5 brothers and 2 sisters, and the others are still living. One sister, I'm going to meet them today afternoon. One of them, she is about 85. She goes up and down these DDA flats, the very narrow stairs, right? But basically the thing is just that why that thing actually did not touch, because consciousness itself has become that pipe. It's an image. Consciousness itself has become that marriage. Consciousness itself became what lasted for 37 years. Consciousness itself became those cells of cancer or ovarian cells. Consciousness itself became that death. Consciousness itself became this hospital. Consciousness itself became those doctors. You follow? And consciousness itself became all those chemos. And consciousness itself, when it had experienced whatever it wanted to experience, moved on into another image. Right? I'm giving you just one example. But basically what happens is that here you see, remember I told you that you are a slave of your desires? So the thing is this, it doesn't take away that an image is actually interacting with images, but that attachment is severed. Because what you realize is that this is none other than consciousness, no matter how it appears. As pain or as death or as a illuminated Anilji or illuminated Ramana Maharishi, it's that same reality. The view is there in front of you, and in the view things are popping up and popping down. So the secret is, now Tulikaji is actually here. What popped up as Tulikaji is actually consciousness. And what's going to pop down as Tulikaji is also consciousness. So the disguise falls, isn't it? There's no theory in what I'm telling you actually. Remember I told you I'm an engineer, I've got to experiment and see it's actually true. And this is the truth, told as clearly or as directly as actually can be told. It doesn't take away whatever you are actually doing, you know. So I'll give you a practical example here. How does consciousness actually work in space and time? Let's take the example of Tulika ji. Can we? So now she has got a husband, and she yesterday said that, oh, I love him dearly, right? I've got to go back home and then I'll come. Now the thing is that what consciousness has done is it has already set up in a previous life those connections, because it wants to experience that love, those images as Tulika ji, as the husband in this life. So comes this life, there is Delhi, the parents are there, consciousness is born as Tulika ji, right? The husband is actually born, and then I think when she told me about her life, somewhere in college the love affair started, and he is from Bihar, she is from UP. Well, they loved each other, so they got married. But what actually you don't realize is that it is consciousness experiencing whatever it wants to experience, and when that experience is finished, it will move on. And that is freedom. It doesn't stop your love for your husband, but now that is not called love. Rishi Master Byansa Duno said that is only a desire being expressed. Love is unconditional, which is limitless and actually has no conditions. That's why when that reality shines on you, what you give is unconditioned, you follow, and it is selfless. Like I'm giving you this knowledge, I'm not asking for you to give me donations or whatever it is to fill my pockets, you know, and have the ticket to go back to Australia. Even when the students, even though they spent the tickets, my condition was that I want your bank account number, and I sent mine and Sylvia's money to their account. Because we don't need all that, you follow. When you've actually got this, what do you need? Tell me. What do you need? You don't need anything. Because that same reality, which is your higher nature, took care of you for the last 1300 lives, it's taking care of you now. It will take care of you even when you leave the physical body. You actually have to go to realize this, right? So this is the third point. Consciousness popped up as the view, and consciousness has popped up as everything in the view. It doesn't matter, you know, you could be 15 billion years old, it does not matter, right? Okay. Then how do we practice this in our day-to-day life, right? That's that question which actually arises. That very nice said, you know, quite beautiful words, you know. And then after 1 hour, after the lecture, you're back into your thoughts and your feelings, and you've forgotten actually everything. And that is the difference. The one who is illuminated doesn't forget this, because when that grace comes, that is the turning point. You remain there. You still continue to function. You eat, you have fun, you know, whatever it is. But then consciousness is in front of you, then the view, and then the images. Otherwise you cannot talk the way I'm actually talking. That's basically the inner state being put out in words. That is why only consciousness, that reality, can give you that grace. Nobody can. An image does not have the power, no matter how beautiful it is, how enlightened it is, it cannot. When it comes from inside, and when it comes from inside, then that's the very end of that. Come in. Oh, Surbhi, come. So we'll just get you to sit down, because we are in the middle of the session. Right. So human beings get interrupted, but consciousness is not interrupted by anything, you know. All right. So, you know, a very simple thing that you can put into your life is that what is consciousness up to now? I say that consciousness is very naughty. So what consciousness is up to now is whatever is happening right at the moment, right? That is our day-to-day life. That's what we are actually doing. But then you go little bit further, right? What actually you put in is that what is consciousness experiencing now? So basically, rather than saying that I am Priya ji or I am actually Anil ji, it's consciousness which has appeared, the word appearing, as Anil ji or Anand ji or Tulika ji. So you have separated yourself from your what you believe yourself to be. Isn't it very simple, right? So if I say that, okay, Anil ji is not actually delivering this lecture, And if I say actually that what is consciousness experiencing now? Consciousness is experiencing itself as all these images, and consciousness is experiencing this satsang. Right? And you are free. And you can practice this. And when you practice it, there is no physical activity, there are no feelings, there are no thoughts. It is the truth and the reality as it should be wherever you are. I mean, one of my students said to me, you are the only guru that I've met who says that you don't need to go anywhere to realize the truth. You can be in the plane and the truth is with you. But that is what it is. You follow? There is no theory in that. So this is basically what I wanted to cover. One, to bring your spiritual quest to an end, consciousness is the ever-present changeless reality, beyond space and time, beyond images. Right? I don't say that you change your religion. I'm not saying that you don't worship the idols. I'm not saying whatever you do. But what I'm saying is, can you just practically put it into your life and see that what I'm saying, is it actually true or is it actually false? And if it is true, then why don't you stick with the truth rather than wandering from here to there, you know, a Christian in one life and a Muslim in another life. Right? Second thing, everything else is an image other than that. And every image carries the seeds of its death within it. And if that image is actually going to die, then what are you actually doing? That's why Shankaracharya was right. He said he's behaving like a donkey. He's running after that thing which will actually die, and then he will start again. Isn't that what we do? I mean, every moment, every thought, every feeling, every activity, everything that you do is actually dying by the moment. You can't take it away because that's the natural state. Right? And then the third thing I said is, who became the view? But the deeper thing in this is, you question yourself that who has actually popped up as Priyaji. Somebody must have popped up. From something came something. You can trace that entire evolution of yours for 15 billion years, reach the very end. What you will find is, reach the view, go beyond the view. What you will find is that actually consciousness has traveled all along to become what it is today, and it will continue to travel to whatever it wants to experience. Right? That's why this part of the satsang is very different from atmic and bodhic bodies and all that. The circus ends here. Then if you want to actually know the truth, then basically you put the question, what is consciousness up to now? Whatever you are actually doing, thinking, feeling, acting, Gurumit ji comes to me, I've been searching, guide me actually. Right? I said, sit down, do Sakshi Bhava, do this, do that. But it's not she actually who is doing. The realization is, that's what consciousness is up to now. And so the naughty game comes to an end. Oh, it's actually consciousness. You've got to actually realize consciousness itself is actually Gurumit ji. The unlimited became the limited so that it could express itself. I'll come to that in a minute. Right? So basically, rather than that, if you just put this simple term that what is actually consciousness experiencing now, the doership goes. Mishraji, yes or no?
Then my question is,
Questions later. Just a yes or a no.
my confusion is, everything is consciousness.
Correct.
The one who understands all this, that is also consciousness.
Yeah.
So everything is conscious. Nothing has to be.
And that is correct
No
actually.
bound.
But that is what you call ajeta. That is basically the ultimate teaching of the scriptures. That everything is actually the same reality. Who actually says that I want enlightenment? Who is actually saying that no one is enlightened? The donkey is saying that. That is consciousness only as that individual, right? But that's a separate question, right? That's a separate satsang. We can only cover the basics in this, right? Okay, so that is basically this satsang. Now I want to just cover 2 points. This question always actually arises that why we are actually doing all this. Why did consciousness choose to do this? You see, you got to look at one thing. Now when actually Ramana Maharshi was there, Ramana Maharshi is an enlightened soul, right? Probably from the highest echelons. Through his own sadhana he reached the highest states, and he has come back in the human form to help. idiots like maybe Anil ji to realize that, catch his ear, start looking here, you're always looking outside. So, the question which arises is that there is actually Ramana Maharishi, and then the Britishers were there, and we are fighting for freedom, and if you look at Jallianwala Bagh, they are shooting into the crowd and killing human beings. Simultaneously, the two things are happening. One poisonous in nature, one very pure in nature. So there are two things. One thing is that either something has gone very wrong, logically when we look at it, or it's the same reality which is appearing as Ramana Maharishi, and which appears as the Britishers, and which appears as the fight for independence. Now when you start actually examining that, that's what you actually find to be true. Another example, Rishi Master Bhyansa Duno as well came about the same time, 1868, 1869, and passed away in 1944, 5 years before, Ramana Maharishi passed away, right? But at that time, he was actually in Bulgaria, and at the same time you've got Hitler in Germany, he was a tyrant actually, killing Jews camps, but the same story, right? So when we actually look at this a bit more deeply, now you know that basically you see from consciousness came the view, consciousness became these images, but when that pure consciousness was there, right, you also describe the ultimate reality as being spaceless and timeless, right? So one part of us is actually spaceless and timeless, which is consciousness, appearing of the view. You can only put a speed of time or whatever to thoughts, but beyond that, what speed does the view appear? How quickly do all these bodies actually function? We can't put really a time limit to that. If you really look at it, you see that consciousness which is there within us is actually spaceless and timeless even now, right? Now, where there is no space, what's the music, no? All right. Where there is no space and where there is no time, there can be no images. Okay? This is scientific or it is clinical, right? Where there is no space, where there is no time, there can be no images, because an image requires space and an image requires time, right? But what was actually happening was that you look at yourself, the way you function, as I had explained before, is that an idea comes in your mind, and when the idea comes, it's only an idea in your mind until you execute it. An idea came in my mind, or the Rishi said, okay, have this satsang here. I sent out, those things. Some of my naughty friends in America informed some other people, maybe I would have called them, I wouldn't have called them. So then I'm caught up. I say, okay, you also come, right? But until you people come here, until we do the satsang, until then the idea is not complete. Now it is executed, in 5 minutes the satsang will finish, right? As it is above, as is your higher nature, so is your lower nature. Just like the mother gives birth to the child, so too consciousness has given birth to the view and everything in the view, right? As above, so below. So what happened was that in that spaceless, timeless state, this idea was within consciousness, that inherent nature was there of a world of space, time and images, but it could not find expression there, right? So basically the thing is that what was inherent in that spaceless, timeless reality, this is your own story, what was inherent was pure, impure and poisonous, a mixture of the three. And so when came the view, when came the images, everything what was inherent as an idea had the right to express itself equally. And that is why you find pure images, you find impure images, you find poisonous images, all interacting simultaneously. That's the explanation behind that. Anyway, that was a side dish, The main dish was the satsang, the second part. So with that, basically, I'll just bring this satsang to a close. I'm just going to play the arti, if that's okay with everyone. You're okay with that? Right? If no one has got any issues, and I'll just end it there. But when you listen to the arti as well, somewhere in about, I think, 1835, there was a Brahmin in Jalandhar or somewhere. The words of that arti just came to him. It's not very old, It's just maybe over 120 or 130 years old. So in every Hindu village it's actually sung. But when you listen to the words, actually they're quite deep. The real service to consciousness is only to spread the knowledge of consciousness. These are the words, right? So probably that's what we did today, didn't we? All right. Then we can have lunch and we can chit and chat, I don't know whether this is going to play on my thing or not, but I'll give it a go. No, it's all right. It's coming. It will come.
Supi.com से अभी ऐप डाउनलोड करो, खेलो लूडो और जीतो.
It's come. So you can sing if you like, right? Please feel free. संकट क्षण में दूर करे, जय जगदीश हरे. ध्यावे पल पावे, दुख बिन से मन का, दुख बिन से मन का. सुख संपत्ति घर आवे, सुख संपत्ति घर आवे, कष्ट मिटे तन का, ओम जगदीश हरे. पिता तुम मेरे, शरण पड़ू न किसकी, स्वामी शरण पड़ू न किसकी. तुम बिन और न दूजा, तुम बिन और न दूजा, आस करूं न किसकी, ओम जय जगदीश हरे. पूर्ण परमात्मा तुम अंतर्यामी, स्वामी तुम अंतर्यामी. पार ब्रह्म परमेश्वर, पार ब्रह्म परमेश्वर, तुम सबके स्वामी, ओम जय जगदीश हरे. करुणा के सागर तुम पालन करता, स्वामी तुम पालन करता. मैं सूरत कलिकामी, मैं वक तुम स्वामी, कृपा करो भरता, ओम जय जगदीश हरे. जय जगदीश हरे, स्वामी जय जगदीश हरे. भक्त जनों के संकट, भक्त जनों के संकट, क्षण में दूर करे, ओम जगदीश हरे. विकार मिटाओ, पाप हरो देवा, पाप हरो देवा. श्रद्धा भक्ति बढ़ाओ, श्रद्धा भक्ति बढ़ाओ, संतन की सेवा ओम जय जगदीश हरे सब है तेरा सब कुछ है तेरा सब कुछ है तेरा तेरा तुझको अर्पण तेरा तुझको अर्पण क्या लागे मेरा ओम जगदीश हरे ओम जगदीश हरे ओम जय जगदीश हरे भक्तजनों के संकट भक्तजनों के संकट क्षण में दूर करे ओम जय जगदीश हरे All right, thank you very much for coming and listening.